Things your students may not know.
So here's something that happens a lot when students are working in Google Docs and they are working with a partner and they need to share their document. They'll go to share their document, but they never named the document. So they'll get this message, name before sharing. They won't read this, but in their head, they're just focusing on sharing with the person. So they're starting to type that person's email. And then once they hit that, they get the sharing thing again, and it gets really confusing. So what you want to do is, first of all, make sure you always remind them to name the document first. Okay, and hit enter or click away to make sure that that's locked in. Then go to share. And then the other thing I mentioned in part 1, when you have them type, you need to make sure they're typing the @ symbol. I'm going to get out of this. Make sure they're typing the @ symbol. I've actually had kids type in the word @ So you want to make sure that they understand how to make that @ Explore some things to do with text. One of the things that hopefully most of your students know how to do is change the font. I do want to warn you, they get confused that this is the font just because they see the name of the font. But once they explore it a couple times, they're pretty good. I think I mentioned this in the last video. Make sure that they're hovering over. One of the other things that we want to clarify for them is the difference between when you're changing the text color and the highlight color, because they might mix those two up. And the highlight color and the text color. And a lot of times they'll accidentally make them a little too close in color, and then you have a situation where you can't read it. So you just want to caution them on that. Another thing with text that you really want to make sure they know how to do is how to highlight. This is tricky. You have to remind them that whatever section they want to highlight, they have to start at the beginning or start at the end. A lot of times kids will try to start in the middle and then they'll highlight once and they'll try to fix it. And then they could go back and forth like this and get really frustrated. So make sure we review with them, highlight from the front or highlight from the bottom. And then what to do with something that we've highlighted is to be really careful. What I find kids do so many times is they'll highlight something and then they'll think, well, I'm just going to go over here now, and they'll accidentally drag it, not realizing that that's something that they can do. But one of the first things we want to teach them is that edit, undo, and also how to do Control Z or Command Z. Another thing you want to do with highlighting is how to copy. You can do Control C or Command Z, or you could right click and copy. You want to go over with them the difference between copy and cut. Remember, copy, it doesn't go away. I'm just going to make another copy, obviously. And the difference between that and cut. And that cut gets rid of it so that I can move it somewhere else. A lot of kids may not realize that when you use one of these pull-down menus, like the edit, or use a right-click menu, if you're trying to learn keyboard shortcuts, check them out. They're all right here for you. Another cool thing that you can work on with text is work with lists. So we have bulleted lists and numbered list. Let me just click a bulleted list, and I'm just making a list of just a couple things I might want to write about. I can't think of anything right now. And so that's pretty cool. Again, things that you have to tell them they may not know is how to get another bullet is just making sure that your cursor, and again, they should get used to looking for that blinking line for the cursor. You hit enter, that takes you to the next line that gives you new bullets. Now, you want to get fancy. Next to the bullet tool, there's a little arrow, and there's all different kinds of bullets. So you can pick different styles of bullets if you want. Now, one more thing about getting fancy with bullets, in addition to highlighting that and changing it here, you can also go to Format, go to Bullets and Numberings, go to List Options, and click More Bullets. Then you're here in the special characters. You can even choose, they have all different kinds of things. Something that might be fun is emojis. And now my list has blue hearts. Thing I want to show everybody in Google Docs is in the Tools menu. There's a couple cool things that you can use, like a dictionary that's built right in, a word count, which is pretty cool because you could have a check on how many words you have, how many characters you have so far. And another thing you probably are aware of, you doing the spelling and grammar check. Another feature from the Tools menu is the Explore option. So if I hit Explore, it's going to look at the text that I have and try to give me some suggestions. So basically it connects with Google's search feature. And it's pretty intuitive. It can tell who I'm writing about. It can offer me some good ideas for pictures. But also, if I wanted to look up something specific, I can do it right through Google Docs. I don't have to go open a new tab and go and do another search. I can search and stay right in here, get the information I need. Web pages are available, images are available. If there's another report that I had written, it'll search my drive for me. So there's lots of different things that I can do right through Google Docs by going to Tools and Explore. So still working in the Tools menu, let's check out a tool that's going to help our students. One of the things that holds them back a lot is keyboarding skills. So if I had a student that had to type a short story or an essay with this much in it, it might take them an hour just to get through all that text. Now, we definitely want to continue to work on their keyboarding skills. And of course, I'll have other videos about that eventually. But in the meantime, and this is another way, especially kids that we have to adapt things for, let's talk about how to get your typing to text or speech to text here in a Google Doc. So I'm going to use Tools. And I'm going to go here to where it says voice typing. Now, the first time you do this, you'll probably get a menu that pops up. So you have to allow the microphone. And then you just have the microphone. Super easy. Click to speak. Once upon a time, there lived a happy princess who wanted a turtle. And as you can see, that is pretty close. One thing I want to go over with the kids, though, is making sure that it's just there to get all your thoughts out, but you still want to go in and edit because it's definitely not perfect. So there might be some spelling errors or some words that the computer didn't hear the right way. But that's definitely going to help them, especially if it's a kind of project where they have a lot of writing to do. So let's take a look at inserting images. And you've probably done this before, but let's try to make things a little more interesting with what we choose to do with our pictures. So we already know how to insert an image probably, but there's a couple of things we can do. Let's say I want to crop this. I want to get more to just the part around the turtle. When I select the picture, there's a crop tool available. So right in Google Docs, I don't have to go to any other software to edit the image. I can crop the image, and when I'm all done, I'm going to hit enter or return. Now, one thing I want to point out, let me undo that, is that cropping, those tools are these little black corners and lines, and we want to be careful because we can get things mixed up when we're trying to crop and we accidentally resize, or if we're trying to resize and we accidentally crop. So we want to take a look at that. We looked at this in the last video, looking at the word wrap, so that we can have text wrap around our pictures. Gives it a really professional look. Let's take a look at other options that are available. We can go into image options. One thing I like to play around with is recoloring, and you can try a couple different effects depending on what you want to do with your picture. You can play around with the size, and you can rotate things. So I can flip things 90 degrees. So there's a lot of different things you can try with your pictures. You can add borders to it. All right, so go ahead and check those out the next time you add an image. Still in our insert menu, what if we want to insert a shape? I get this question a lot. If you go to the insert menu, there's no area for shape per se, but what you can do is you can use Google Drawing and actually have a Google Drawing that's built into your Google Docs. So if I go to new, I can create the drawing right here. And from here, I can work with shapes and do everything that I would want to do to edit that shape. I can add a text box and just try different things. What I then will do is save and close, and then that becomes an image. I don't know if you notice that I started everything in my drawing box to the top left because then it automatically crops it. Once it's back in my Google Doc, then that thing that I created acts just like an image. So I can work with it just like I did with my turtle here. So the other thing we want to look at in Google Docs is all the things that we have access to through the insert menu. I'm going to come back to images in a minute, but let's take a look at tables. What I like about this is you really can picture how you want your table to look. And I always tell the kids, sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know how much I need or something like that. And we'll show them how to add or subtract columns and rows so that they know, even though once they set up a table, they know how to fix it. One thing I notice with the kids a lot is if they'll set up a table like this and they're like, oh, no, that's not how I want it. I want it to have this. And they'll actually put a table inside a table. So we can show them really easily. If you want to start over, you go to Format, Table, and Delete Table, and you can start over. That's also how you will work with anything else you want to change in the table by going to Format, Table, whether you want to insert a column or delete a column or a row or anything like that. Okay, notice also over here, these tools light up when you have a table selected. So from here, I can go ahead and change the color of the cells. I can deal with borders and work with that. Notice once I click away from that table, then those tools disappear. I got a couple more things from the insert menu. One thing I want to look at is headers and footers. So I like to use headers for really long documents. And so I can put information that's important at the top of every page. There's a lot of variations you can make, different first pages and stuff like that. And then once you've created your header, I'm going to go ahead and just make this look just a little different so we can notice that. Okay, and once you've created that header then ends up on every page. So if I have a second page to my document, while I'm here, there's another insert page break if you've never used that before. So you'll see here, I have that header will then be on every page. Same works the same way with the footer. And of course, footer is a great tool if you want to have page numbers. Now, one thing that, again, this header and footer, and just understanding that it works with layers in your document, because that does confuse students. A lot of times they'll insert a header by accident, have that same thing pop up at every page when they didn't want to. So we definitely want to point that out. Let's wrap things up with what I think is probably the best feature of Google Docs, and that's being able to access your version history. So right here, you can see that it tells me my last edit was 2 minutes ago, but that's not just information for me. That's also how I can access previous versions of my Google Docs. So if you can tell, it has like a little line underneath. So it is a link. It's going to take me to my version history. If I click this arrow, I can open it up and just basically go back in time. Now, this is so valuable. I can't tell you how many times I've had kids almost in tears because they've worked really hard on something, accidentally deleted a lot of it, and thought they had to start over. So important for everybody's happiness just to teach them how to use this feature with version history. Now, I'm going to show you something that's really cool, though, as a teacher. What I find is if I'm working, like maybe it's something that I'm using a focus lesson and I'm using a document for that, and there's a good starting point. So I don't want to get rid of all the work I've done, but I want to kind of come all the way back to my starting point. What I can do is find that, and I'm going to change the name of it. I'm just going to hit start. Okay, so that version, when it looks just like this, that's my starting point. Then later on, when I have to reset for my class, I go into my version history and then look, I can click only named versions, and then I can bring back this start and come to here. So it's going to reset my document, but if I want to get to those other ones that I made where I had a lot more done, they're still there.